Yeah, I strongly believe that it is important to have sustainability at any point in your life, I'd say, especially once you're, working towards your career or just in school, because you need to be aware of how the environment is being treated directly impacts people as well. Somehow, some time down the line, it would impact people. I say this because from back home, I'm from Tanzania, and I see effects of like just maybe improper disposal and where it would block drainage systems which then would lead to like flooding when the rainy seasons come. So it's like situations like that, if you're more aware of how to treat the environment, you'd understand that not only for the benefit of the environment in itself, but also like for other people and the trickle-down effects of when it's not being treated properly. Yeah. Certificate was very helpful in sustainability because it made me think of how to practically apply my degree in the education that I gained. So the certificate in sustainability gave me that opportunity where, at least for mine, I tried to figure out a way that, like, what are some of the things that I was already doing that was catered towards sustainability, or trying to fill the gap between what I was already studying in class and what I wanted to get into in real life, like after my degree. And one of them was a small business that me and my sister formed. It was named Sinamtwa as well. But then one thing that we're trying to figure out is, as we're, making our clothes intentionally behind storytelling, how could we also cater to the waste that we were making? And a lot of the pieces that were left off were made, I thought about it as a way to integrate it in my certificate in sustainability, because the whole idea is coming up with a project that is catered towards the adverse effects of maybe improper disposal or impacting the environment. And so we made bags from like the discarded material, which is like, it's something you wouldn't necessarily think about, but it's just there as well, where it's like, okay, I don't necessarily, because a big issue again that I previously mentioned is improper disposal back home. None of them is textile, that's found in drainage systems or just in the road or elsewhere. So we're thinking that, okay, how can we keep it within the business and not really impacting the environment? Okay, so how did I pick it? I had to think about it in a way like, what was I already doing that still made a difference or still was geared towards what the integrative project was about? And that's when I thought about the small business that I already had with my sister, Sinamtwa. And through that, I was like, okay, we're already using our in-house fabric to make bags. I think that kind of addresses one of the many challenges, which is like just accounting for the waste that is produced within, even if it's like big industries to small industries. So that's when I had to speak to my supervisor, who at the time I believe was Brandon Askus. I don't know to butcher his name, but yes. And that's when I gave him, pitched my idea, and then he was like, yeah, that makes sense. Just structure in this way, like, what issue are you addressing? How does it relate to the integrative project? And so, yeah. Okay, so how I actually came across from the sustainability newsletter. I actually relied on that newsletter for a lot of things, from work to workshops that I maybe wanted to be part of, and just maybe, again, seeing how my environmental science degree came into practice in different ways. And so I came across the HALT competition. This was a few months right before I was going to complete my undergrad degree. And then I gathered a couple of my friends, and I had an idea of like, okay, the biggest issue, and all of us were coming from like developing nations, like Global South. And we were thinking that, okay, what are some of the challenges back home? How can we relate it? Because the theme for that year for HALT competition was addressing textile waste. And so across all of us, I think, so there was my colleague's name was, one of them was Robel. He was from Kenya, another one was Prophet from Rwanda, and then another one was Anwarika from Nigeria. And all of us just came together and were like, okay, what can happen here? And I'm from Tanzania, so we're all thinking like, what are the major issues that are like at home in the context of textile waste? And so I kind of spoke to some people that I knew from back home, whether they were owning businesses or they were in the environmental sector. And they did like concur and say that, yeah, that is an issue, like proper textile waste management. And I was like, okay, there's definitely an issue, therefore maybe we can move it to maybe a supply, and demand aspect of how can we turn this waste into something that can be useful. And that's when I pitched to my colleagues, like, okay, let's think about it in the context of Tanzania, because for them as well, the information they tried to gather didn't really hold. And we're just like, okay, let's go for Tanzania. And so that's when we had to outsource different companies and speak to them and understand their challenges. And with the hot competition, they gave us resources of, okay, how do you pitch your idea? What is also availed me to new concepts I never knew before, like stuff like unique value proposition. Like for me, that I've never took a business class to understand, like, okay, what does that mean? And that just means, okay, what's so special about your project? How does it set apart from other projects? And that's when we had to, like, okay, maybe you want to work collaboratively with maybe other businesses in Tanzania that are already doing that. But because there's a lot of like grassroots movements or grassroots businesses and organizations that are trying to address if it's improper like waste management in the context of textile, or just trying to mitigate the impacts of maybe climate change. And so we geared towards specifically the ones that were working in textile. And we were able to form connections with them as well. But definitely I want to say that the overall experience that HALT provided was meeting with like-minded people, where you see people either at different stages of a certain project, maybe fully transformed and it's already running, they already have a prototype, already have a market, to people who are just starting off with just an idea. And I think it's an opportunity that a lot of students, if they can, should do, because it makes you think about things that eventually you would come across after your degree, and how to think about like working with people, like stakeholder engagement, or how do I pitch or say something in 60 seconds and still remain, in the objective that I had in my head. So yeah, HALT is really nice. The Sustainability Council newsletter is your best friend. And yeah, overall the experience I'd say was good. I do see myself eventually, after completing my studies, catering towards something like that addresses an environmental challenge at home, but also creates opportunity for people. Do it. They should do it. I think it's because a lot of the times we also need to like leverage the opportunities within campus, because I know sometimes coming like to school and maybe doing an undergrad can feel like mundane, and it's like, okay, let me just get my stuff done, right? But it doesn't hurt for you to maybe like go to that workshop or lecture and learn something new that you don't necessarily learn within your degree, because 9 times out of 10, that very aspect you'll meet after like you're done with your degree. People are always going to be talking about things that are challenging society, and one of them happens to be climate change. And so I would say definitely, like, if you have the opportunity, enroll in it. You get to interact with people maybe not necessarily in your discipline, and you get to have like background in a different aspect, that it's a conversation starter. And it also gives you might even find out that you might like something or might be interested in using the experience you may have to kind of address the challenges like climate change that exists right now. No, I think just keeping an open mind, because I think sometimes as well, depending if you're coming from a technical background or a science background, or you've never heard environmental science or sustainability, I feel like there's a given perspective already of, okay, when you say sustainability or environmental science, you mean like, I don't know, there's a certain image that people come up with, and maybe it might not be the only image that exists. So there's different disciplines, like at least for me right now, right? I'm doing my master's in environmental sustainability, and not even knowing from before, it was more of like thinking that, oh yeah, I'm coming from a science background, I'm gonna probably come across more of like more science, more modeling and stuff like that. But this time around, I came across law, economics, policy as well, which you start to understand that environmental science is just in every discipline, like it overlaps all the time. So I would definitely say like people shouldn't feel discouraged to be like, oh, I don't have a technical background or I've never heard of it. I feel like anyone can get into environmental science. Personally, I know people who don't necessarily have a degree in it, but they took maybe a short course or they were just interested and that was enough. And they started like either their career or volunteering or just got involved and they still made a difference and it was still life-changing for them. So, yeah. It was really, really nice, I would say. I was fortunate to work with two of my supervisors. Maya, she was based here in North Campus, but the one on Augustana was Jayla Lindberg, and I'm still in close communication with her. I think it's showed me, apart from obviously aligning my passions with my interests and like where I was at the time, it also gave me a chance to be part of something bigger, as well as having references to date. So if I were to ask or email Jayla to this day, she'd be happily to vouch for me to somebody else. So it's like you have a person that can account at a time where you aligned your efforts with your passions, and it was honestly a very nice experience. In itself, the experience as well gave me an opportunity to educate students on things related to sustainability that they really weren't aware of. And I saw the gap, which I was like, okay, there's work to do. Which it was a nice thing to see that, oh, like what I'm studying actually matters. There's actually a need for it, because for all of us to understand challenges like climate change or waste management, I feel like once you fill those gaps where people don't know about it, it becomes easier. And the job, like working with the Sustainability Council, gave me that, which is nice. And I was able to talk with a lot of people on campus, which is really nice to come across people from either if it's the kitchen, it's the staff, it's students and residents. So I really liked that experience overall, yeah. So, my master's in environmental sustainability so far has been really eye-opening. I've come across different individuals who are either working in private, governmental, non-governmental, towards addressing climate change, and if it's like in policy formulation, if it's through lobbying, if it's through working collaboratively maybe with the government towards like cost-benefit analysis of what form of mitigation plan should we implement. It's given me a chance to see like, okay, this is how my degree can be applied. And it's a 8-month, where in 8 months I cover the courses that I need to take in class, and I've opted to do co-op and then write my paper. So at least it paces me to understand that, okay, this is the information that's available to be within this program, and some of those information is like new concepts like law and economics. So it gives me a chance to kind of digest it and see how can I write and integrate that into my paper, but also how can I apply it in my workspace, which God willing, I'll start from May till the end of the year for 8 months. But yeah, so I definitely advise anyone who's, again, it's upon preference, but anyone who's like interested in after they obtain their degree in maybe environmental science or generally interested in environmental science, it's definitely a good degree to have under your belt, because it gives you a chance to see how it can be applied. You come across different individuals, your ability to network, but as well as work collaboratively with people in different projects that you see come to light. So yeah, I'll definitely say it's been a positive one for sure. Yeah.